Let me know if we are, when you're set.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Should come up. What's it want?
We're good.
Okay, it's 10:02. We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you've all seen the agenda. We're going to need to look at the consent agenda item, and there will be amendment to that, but we'll do that when we go to meet the consent agenda. There is a request to add 1.A or A.1, whichever you prefer. That would be District 15 comments. Okay, with those items, are there any other changes? Any discussion on the changes?
Chair, did you want to add public input for 8C prior to our getting to that point?
It's already in the, it's already in there.
But did we want to do it prior to the other agenda items?
Well, the public has input on non-agenda items, and
Right.
then they will have a chance during all of those
Okay,
that say public input. We typically do those by
prior.
each one. Any other discussion? Okay, do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll restate the agenda items. We have one consent agenda item that we'll look at before we vote on that. We have no unfinished business. Under new business, we have ratification of District 15 CBA. We have 1A, District 15 comments, salary range adjustments, executive staff, fire chief annual performance review, fire chief salary scale, fire chief salary adjustment, and that's it. Okay. Next item, public input on non-agenda items. Is there any public input? If not, we'll close that portion. Consent agenda items. The chief gave us a change. It would be under 9A, the truth in millage. The trim notice, there was no number in the original one, so we've added 2.9851. Does everyone see that? Okay. Is there any other changes to that item? Do we have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, new business, ratification of District 15 CBA, and I'll turn that over to the chief.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chair, staff, and members. Appreciate you being here this morning. Today, I get the honor and privilege of presenting to you the union-approved District 15 collective bargaining agreement for a 3-year term to expire in 2025. This is kind of unique territory for the district. We've never been here before. This is the first time we have successfully negotiated a collective bargaining agreement well ahead of the existing collective bargaining's expiration date. This does not have a significant impact to the budget. It will cost us an additional $7,500, but we have a solidified, a potentially solidified based on your vote today, 3-year collective bargaining agreement. This contract costs out and is valued at approximately $487,725 or $162,575 per year. And beyond the dollars and cents, what this really represents, this contract to me, and I'm sure to the DVP and our battalion chiefs, is this contract represents a shared vision of how our future is going to look, with our battalion chiefs helping us to solve organizational problems. And I just want to commend DVP Brunson, Battalion Chief Brunson. He was a pleasure to work with, and this was a positive organizational experience. And with that, I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
have no question.
I'm sorry, Jackie?
No, just thank you.
No questions.
Thank you to everyone involved
Yeah.
for getting this taken care of.
Nope, nothing. Job
Glad
well
to
And
be
none
here
for me.
On this one.
Okay, then do we have a motion? Someone care to read the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the IAFF Local 1826 District 15 Collective Bargaining Agreement dated August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2025.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Good job.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 1A, District 15 comments. Gentlemen?
We have to get a step stool. Get up here. Good morning. No, it's okay. I can talk.
Okay, okay.
Good morning, everyone. This has been the first time I've had a chance to come and introduce myself. My name's Terry Brunson, Battalion Chief with the district. Kind of taking over for Jake after he left, so some of this is kind of new to me. So I'm easing my way into it, I could say. But on behalf of District 15 and stuff, I would like to say thank you. This is the first time that we've actually had a cohesive partnership in getting the contract done. So thank you to Chief Martin and his staff for doing that. And I think that moving forward and stuff, I think we're doing good things. And I think this is going to be a positive relationship. Communication is great. I can't say enough that in the past compared to now, I think it's going to be a different department. And that's all I have to say about District 15. Jen could not be here for District 3, but she did want me to say thank you for the quick ratification of their articles, and that she'd be happy to be here at the next meeting instead of me. So, with that said and stuff, once again, thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, next item, B, is salary range adjustments, executive staff. Chief, I'll turn that to you.
Hello. Well, once again, Commissioners, as with all of the positions and everything that we have been doing in this organization to respond to the changing economic climate, I have presented to you today adjustments to our executive staff salary schedule. We put our human resource manager, her position, she's part of my senior staff, in the last round of administrative wage adjustments, so she's not reflected in this executive salary adjustment. My senior staff at the time wanted to wait until we got the District 15 collective bargaining agreement ratified and completed before we brought anything in front of you for them. Colleen's position was so, did not match current market trends or valuations, so kind of overrode her wishes and presented that to you because it was significantly under what the market value was for her skills, attributes, and the work we asked her to do. What I present to you today is a sustainable salary range. This is for the fire official, the district chief of operations, and the 2 assistant fire chiefs in our organization. Over the last year, as a memory jogger, please remember we've also deleted 1 assistant chief's position that we are not going to fill. The salary ranges have been compiled from 362 Florida communities. They are also compared to the Department of Labor regional data that is out there, and also reflective of 4 key indicators that I look at when we're talking about salary and compensation schedules. That's fuel, food, housing, and any childcare costs. Luckily, I don't believe, except for 1 person, we don't have small children, so childcare cost isn't significant. When we value these positions, we are not as clean as other municipalities may be. So what I mean by that is we have to compile all of the resources that a position has. So for example, the director of finance at a municipality or another district may just be the director of finance, and all they focus on is director of finance work. Well, in our case, the director of finance has a role and plays a significant role, not only in finance, in budgeting, in forecasting, and budget management, and AP, and accounts receivable, but also risk management. So we have to value both of the skill sets and what we need, and that's what I've done. We've also had to keep in mind that we need to, as an organization, we can't recruit and target new graduates or brand-new people who have theoretical basis. We will be targeting, if we ever have to replace positions like these, or the incumbents that are in these positions, with people that have advanced degrees and work experience, and that's reflected in the salary range. The salary ranges that I'm proposing is an 8-step plan, which, similar to the District 15 agreement, we will evaluate that wage range for these positions once again, coming into 2025. So these will be a salary range that stay in place for the next 3 years for the organization. With that, can I answer any questions for any of you?
Jackie, we'll start again.
No?
And Jim?
No, I'm glad to see us moving
We've got-
into a competitive range so that we can maintain good, solid folks here.
Ron?
No question.
John?
No, great job in compiling the data for us, thank you.
I say the same, thanks for putting this together. At this point then, we've all had an opportunity to look at that and talk to the chief about it. I make a motion to approve the salary ranges for the listed executive staff as presented in the packet with an effective date of August 1st, 2022. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I have one piece of discussion on it. So if they are not within that range now, do you have a plan in place to get them up into that range?
Yes, we've already made the budget allocations, and we can afford it, so this will take effect August 1st, and they will be adjusted
And
accordingly.
they'll be adjusted up into
Yes,
the range?
yes,
Okay. And
yes,
then you're
ma'am.
determining where in that range they are, or they're just?
Yes, we've already
below?
done an evaluation, and we plugged them in accordingly based on where they would be in this current step plan and where they would be in the next step, the transition to the step plan.
Okay, so
Step plan closely mirrors what we have now, it's just the wage range is what's
Bigger.
low.
Yeah, so I want to make sure, like, if they're in the step 2 of the current plan, that they go to step 2 of the new plan,
Yes.
not to step 1 of the new plan if they're below that.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yes,
N-
ma'am.
None of these transitions would result in a cut in pay for any employee?
No, sir.
Okay,
No,
good,
sir. It's a positive gain to every employee.
Okay.
great.
Great. Any other discussion? Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay. Thank you. Next item, Fire Chief Annual Review and Annual Performance Review, I should say. You've all had an opportunity to look through that. Have you all had an opportunity to meet with the chief individually to discuss issues? Okay.
Yes.
And the chief, as part of his goal toward increased transparency, offered us the opportunity to talk to his executive staff about his performance. I did that. I spoke to several of the executive staff members. They were very candid and were sharing their opinions about his performance. So, and I've kind of used that in my evaluations. So I appreciate that, and I commend you for doing that. That's great. Okay, we have the guidelines are exceeds expectations. That would be a rating 3. Proficient is a rating 2, and developing is a rating 1. So when I call, I will read each category, and then you also have the forms and the order that we'll be responding so that all of us get an opportunity to go first and last at some point. So, any questions about the scoring? When I call your name, you can give a comment if you care to, but there's no requirement to give a comment about any of these as we go through. But you're certainly welcome to. So we'll start off with financial management. We all ready? Okay. I'd like to mention that the chief's done a lot of research on FASDA funding for our Station 31. He's increased the transparency, as I mentioned, not only there, but also in the budget process. He created the graphs and the data slides himself that I find very helpful, help us understand the process. And he works well with Jane and her staff and wants to continue to learn about financial management. I give him a 3. Commissioner Bennett.
I agree with those comments, Commissioner, and I feel this is one of Chief Martin's key strengths. He really excelled in all aspects of bringing the board up to speed and in every capacity within the budget. I also rated him a 3.
Commissioner Nickel.
Yes, I also rated him a 3. The comment that I made was, I think he'd done an outstanding job identifying current weaknesses in the financial planning process, and also did an outstanding job in developing a plan for the new facility, and also general recommendations at moving the district forward into the future.
Okay. Commissioner Lezak.
I agree with all the other comments. I continue to really enjoy how you are budgeting forward and looking into the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. I think it's critical to any organization, and I think looking further out, especially with the changing times and our island, the way it's changing, and our delivery service changing, and I appreciate that, and I love the way that you're keeping us apprised of stuff. There's never a time when I feel like I don't know what's going on, so I appreciate that, so it's a 3.
Okay. Commissioner Fleming.
I echo all the previous comments that have been said. I would also like to highlight that Chief Martin has obtained his Florida Public Labor Relations certification, and I think that is evident in our 2 contracts that have been recently settled, and which also, through budgetary forecasting, that everyone was able to get an increase in their pay. So I would rate them a 3.
Okay, so from this point on, we've asked Jane to record the ratings, and then at the end, she'll do a quick compilation of those and give us a final score that will place the chief in one of those 3 categories, either exceeds, proficient, or developing.
Actually, Mr. Chair, Human Resources is doing our compiling for us.
There you go. Even better. Thanks, Colleen. Okay. Well, Jane, I appreciate that. Jane's done that in the past, but I'm glad you're on board with that. Thank you. Okay, to the next one, personnel management. Commissioner Bennett?
Yeah, it's always tough to kind of pigeonhole within a few line items the things that Chief Martin's done or the executive in that role. But I found, especially in this last year, that Chief Martin's come up with some very creative solutions for the district to succeed in very unusual times. I feel, at least from my exposure to the personnel of the district, that the overall morale is reflective of his leadership. Ron is always upbeat, normally has a smile on his face unless he's worried about something. But certainly, I feel he's done an outstanding job, and I rated him a 3.
Commissioner Nickel?
I also rated him a 3. I had indicated here it was a great achievement, I thought, to settle the contract with District 3 in just a couple of months after the protracted negotiation situation that we had been in. And this was achieved, I thought, by building trust and through transparency within the organization. So I certainly applaud you for your management approach and the successes that we have achieved as a result of them. Thank you.
Commissioner Lezak?
So I also agree with the comments that were just made. When I look at the 3 bullet points that we have with this particular section, the one word that keeps coming to my mind is collaboration. And Chief is really shown what true collaboration looks like within the department, and the whole atmosphere is reflective of that, and so are the relationships between folks and departments within the overall organization and as well with us. So for that, that's a 3, because you just have a knack of really getting everyone's input and making incredible good decisions for everyone involved, so much appreciated.
Commissioner Fleming?
I also rate Chief Martin a 3 on this. I go back, as I said previously, to the 2 collective bargaining agreements and also the elimination of what I always believed was an unnecessary 3rd assistant chief.
Okay. I also rated the chief a 3. In addition to the other comments, he looks for ways to help employees improve rather than looking for ways to sanction or punish them. And that's really good, I think. He also works effectively with our attorney during negotiations and other personnel issues. So, okay. Colleen, you ready for that? Can you add those up and divide by 5? Okay.
Perfect.
All right, good. All right, strategic planning is next, and we'll start with Commissioner Nickel.
Yes, I rated the chief as 3 in this area. We have an outstanding strategic plan, and I think what I'm most impressed with is we actually look at it from time to time, and we used it in our budgeting process for this year. And I think that's what a strategic plan is supposed to be there for. And so I think we're one of the few organizations I've ever been involved in that actually did that. So I applaud you for that, and I rate you a 3.
Thank you. Commissioner Lezak?
Also a 3 because of the reasons that Jim just mentioned. I very rarely have been in an organization that actually dusts that off and utilizes it in the weekly and monthly metrics of the organization, and I see that happening fairly often. So I think it's very important, and I love that it's up to date and that we continue to look forward with it for my comments before. So very good.
Thank you. Commissioner Fleming?
I echo the previous comments. I also rate Chief Martin a 3 on strategic planning, specifically because of the update of our standards of cover document and also with our objectives and how we're going to fund what we want to do.
Okay. I was debating about a 2 or a 3 because it's kind of early in his time here to effectively discern, the strategic plans typically aren't a one-year plan, but I just felt that he deserved a 3. As you mentioned, the standards of cover document, we've been needing one of those for a long time, and you got it done, and we do have the strategic plan that I support, so I gave him a 3. Okay, and Commissioner Bennett?
And I also rated Chief Martin a 3. Again, it's been said a couple of times before, but to have these plans in place is one thing. A lot of organizations establish them for certification requirements or placement within a city structure or something like that. But to actually utilize and maintain a blueprint for the district's future is what we pay good money for to get that data. And it's there for a reason. And I truly appreciate that that's taken into account for every decision that's made.
Okay. And we're moving along to leadership. Commissioner Lezak, you go first.
Okay, so I find it funny that I'm first on this one because I probably see the chief doing these things on a more regular basis than any of the other commissioners because of how I'm out in the community and he's out in the community all the time. And I get to observe him and participate with him in a lot of these activities. In my other position when I do events, he and the team are there and I have to work with them through this. So I've never had a time where I haven't felt like he hasn't been present and being around so I could have a conversation or ask a question, and I believe the community feels the same way on all of these things, whether it's one of our fires or whether it's an event or whether it's working with the county and the other departments in the region on disaster plans and things like that. So I rate a 3 because you have been completely accessible to me and to my organization's needs and to the community's needs at all times, bearing in mind what's best for them. So keep up the good work with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Fleming?
I also rate Chief Martin a 3 on this, specifically because of his style of positive communications and also working with our labor partners in our recruitment process. As we all know, we need bodies, but we want people that are qualified and meet our very high standards. Also, I commend him for relocating the ambulance or the medic unit from Station 32 to 31. I expected there were some comments from people who live over the bridge that it's going to take longer for them to get there, but many times that medic unit was already gone. It was somewhere else in Lee County, not serving our citizens. So, thank you.
Okay. I also gave the chief a 3. He included the staff to redesign the emergency service delivery model, and that's forced overtime, and he really is a leader in that respect, and he also created a whistleblower policy, and he was quite adamant about that it was necessary for all of us and all of his staff to have some say if he went rogue, for example. And I just commend him for that. That takes a lot of guts, and I appreciate that. And I think his staff feels that he's in the trenches with them and is concerned for their welfare. And that's what I'm hearing. So, 3. Commissioner Bennett.
Again, agree with everybody else's comments. I really appreciate that Chief Martin has a true one-team approach. He really gives the stakeholders, both internal with the district and the members of the community, just improved confidence through his approach in leading our team into the future, and also rating him a 3.
Commissioner Nickel.
Yes, I give the chief a 3 in this area. I think that he's done an outstanding job in this area. You've regained the trust of employees and are working with them to develop a partnership to collectively move the district forward. You've been sensitive to employee concerns, particularly regarding mandatory overtime and the toll that can take on employees and their families. And you've been developing plans to try to address that so that that doesn't happen in the future, at least to the degree that we can control it. So I'm very impressed with your leadership since you've taken over the department, and I give you a 3.
Thank you. Right. All right, we're moving along to Section 5, Community, Government, and Industry. Commissioner Fleming?
Once again, I rated Chief Martin a 3. I believe his communications with the town, which have been difficult over the years, are improving. Also, working with the Lee County Department of Safety, and specifically my concerns and all of our concerns with the bridge. What they proposed, I believe, was unsafe. Were voiced through Chief Martin. He voiced his opposition, but at the end of the day, the state's going to do what the state's going to do, but at least they know our position. Also, by establishing a good working relationship with Florida House Representative Adam Patana, which may be fruitful in helping us with the new station.
Thank you. I also gave the chief a 3. I think if you're out in the community and you run into other FASDA members or fire officials, he's well-liked and well-respected by all of them. And he works extremely well with all the stakeholders, including, as you mentioned, the elected representatives. So I gave him a 3. Commissioner Bennett?
I, again, rated Chief Martin a 3. And I think most of us have had the opportunity to be at a public forum with the chief. I truly feel he's the happiest employee I've ever seen. He always represents the district in a positive light, is loving his job beyond the hours he puts in, which are more than he should most days. One of our discussions in the past. If I could have rated him higher, I would have, but I also rated Chief Martin a 3.
Commissioner Nickel?
Yes, I rate the chief of three in this area. I think he, in the short time that he's been our chief, he's improved lines of communication with the town and the county governments, and then the sheriff's office. And we have some issues we have to sometimes talk to the sheriff about, because we work with them pretty closely in difficult times. He has ensured that the district is represented in area and regional events, and that the district views are expressed. And that's important. So I rate you a 3.
Commissioner Lezak?
I agree with all the comments made. You know, one of the things that jumps out to me is the improved relationship with the town. Obviously, continued collaboration with the sheriff's office. The fact that you go to the conferences, you just don't talk it, you're walking it. I mean, you're there and you're present, and folks outside of our community know that you are our chief executive here and our representative for the department, and that you're available. And that's huge. That again, communication, and I'll go back to collaboration. You're making things happen so everyone is winning, and that's a big positive. So that's a 3.
Thank you. You keeping up, colleague?
Prime.
Okay. All right, we'll go on to Category 6, Board of Fire Commissioners, and I get to go first. And I would just say that I feel like I'm a part of the fire district now, and it's due to the efforts of the chief. He involves us in local events and helps arrange our attendance at those things and encourages us to attend. And he apprises of major changes or issues within the district. But the biggest thing is he's making us, I think, all feel as though we're a part of this bigger entity. And thank you so much for that, Chief. So I gave him a 3. And Commissioner Bennett?
I also rated the chief a 3. He constantly informs, consults, seeks guidance when he feels he needs it. Outstanding communication with all of us. I've always felt with the board that I couldn't be better prepared than I was a year previous or 2 years previous. And Chief Martin has proved me wrong on that. He really has enlightened me to a few things, and my knowledge continues to grow, so I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Nickel?
I likewise rate the chief a 3. I think he's been very open and transparent with the board in keeping us informed of what's going on. You keep us informed of evolving events, whether they're in the field as well as community events that are happening. And you also make sure that we're informed well enough that we could explain things to our constituents, because people do approach us and ask questions. And I never feel like I'm not aware of what's going on and that I can't handle or answer the questions people have. So I thank you for that.
Commissioner Lezak?
Also a 3 for me, and agree with all the comments. I can't tell you how many times that I've had to call the chief to ask him a question about something, and then vice versa. You've called me on many occasions to say, what do you think about something that's going on in the community or within one of my other roles? And that just leads back to the fact that we as a board are so well informed and so prepared, and the new technology is helpful when it works.
I'm not sure about that.
But this kind of stuff, I mean, this is where we need to go, and it just helps us do our job better. So much appreciated.
Thank you. Commissioner Fleming?
I concur with all the previous comments. I also rate Chief Martin a 3. I have nothing to add.
Section 7, Disaster Planning and Management. We'll start with Commissioner Bennett.
I think we start to sound like broken records after a point, but I wrote down 2 words with an exclamation point, and that's always prepared, because I feel like Chief Martin, not just himself, but the district is always prepared for what may challenge us in the future. And all the other items we rated him on truly lead up to this last category of one team, good training, everything's in place, a positive workforce, which is so joyous to see from my view anyway. And I had to rate him a 3. There was no other.
Commissioner Nickel?
I likewise rate the chief a 3. He's been focusing and continues to focus on issues that require his immediate attention since he became chief. And I think he's been planning exceptionally well for the future needs of the district and in many areas of disaster response. And I'll say, communication is the key here, and you are a great communicator, particularly with the board. You keep us very well informed, and I thank you for that. So that's a 3.
Commissioner Lezak.
Also a 3, I have no worries in the area of, should we have a never event, that this leader, you as their leader and the department will be there to take care of our community. It's something that keeps me up at night when you think about the fact that we're on a barrier island and the things that could happen. And I sleep better knowing that the folks in the department are here to kind of watch over and then prepare in the event that we do have something catastrophic happen that we have to recover from. So, a 3.
Thank you. Commissioner Fleming.
Again, I rate Chief Martin a 3 for disaster planning management. Developing an active shooter policy, it's terrible, but it's going to happen in this region, and hopefully it won't be here. And also, when Leonardo Arms appeared that it may go, I called Chief Martin and said, what are you doing to address this? And he had a very specific answer for me. So he stays on top of things, and anticipates things, so I thank you for that.
Okay. Well, I have an opportunity to be a spoiler. And make you do some, out to like the 1,000th
have to do
decimal
math.
point. My first thought again was, we have not had any disasters yet, knock on wood. And so it's hard to say, well, he exceeds when we haven't experienced any. But I think, as the others have pointed out, he's done so much to prepare us. And the fact that I feel everyone is working together, that if there were a disaster, that people wouldn't panic, they would know what they're doing, and they would all work together toward a common goal. So I also gave the chief a 3. So if,
You rotten dog, you.
I couldn't,
You scared him.
Yeah.
Look at him. Poor guy.
I told them that before. I mean, when we discussed, I said, I'm torn between that one because of the fact that we haven't had one yet, but I'll reserve the right if we have one and it doesn't.
For a
work out.
-1, you're gonna give him a -1 if it doesn't go as planned?
Next year. Anyway,
tough,
well,
Larry.
that's wonderful. So I assume that those numbers add up to 105? Okay, so the exceeds expectation is 105 to 81, proficient 80 to 50, and developing 49 to 35. Chief, what more can we say? You have exceeded expectations in all areas, as we've just mentioned here, and we've only said just a little capsule summary of what we feel about you and your performance. So bless you, and anyway. Additional fire commissioner comments. Anybody care to add anything?
I'll make one. I know publicly it may seem the easy thing to do, to rate exceeds on these categories, especially as we work through them and you get to the end and you're like, well, there's got to be a fault somewhere. But he truly does exceed our expectations. And again, my feeling, as a board member, as a member of the community and the public and the comments that I hear, it's nothing but outstanding and a terrific first year. And I thank him for it and look forward to many more to come.
Ron, anything to add?
I just want to say thank you for the job.
Jim?
I want to say thank you as well. Rarely do you see someone that is as committed, I believe, as you are. And I think you're committed to the people of the Fort Myers Beach Fire Control District and the people of our organization to ensure that we can provide professional, competent, and complete service to our community. And I thank you.
Jackie?
Yeah, I too want to say thank you, and I know, you were nervous a year ago. It was new to you, and you should be very proud of yourself for the manner in which you've stepped into this role and filled it completely. So I've seen you grow and change over the last year. It's been really a pleasure to watch that and to be a part of it. And I know we're in good hands, and I know you're not going to stop here. I mean, you're going to continue to grow and look for opportunities to get better at things and look for areas of the department that need more attention. And so, I wish there was a category for, is willing to continue to grow, because you would get a 3 in that one too. So it's really a pleasure to work with you, so thank you.
And I would just say that we may need to, Colleen did a lot of work to redesign our evaluation form, and she looked at a lot of ones around the area and the state, and came up with one that better suits our needs. I just kind of thinking now we might need a 4th category next year that super exceeds it, so that we can differentiate. But other than that, congratulations, Chief. Do you have any comments you care to make?
Thank you. So this, every day I come to work, I feel like Cinderella. For a kid from South Chicago to obtain this position, there's 100,000 people in my industry that would do whatever they had to get me out of the way to have the honor of leading this team. As we progress forward, this isn't me doing this. It's you guys in the stations. It's my senior staff, my administrative staff. I'm just a figurehead that are putting the pieces together. Without all of you in the stations, all of your people, your leadership, getting those folks on the trucks, we wouldn't be meeting this mission. So this is much an evaluation and a thank you to you guys and to all of you. I just get the acknowledgments for putting my team together. And I couldn't do any of this if it wasn't for every single person in this organization and this wonderful board and the community backing me. So thank you.
Okay, we discussed a little bit beforehand about allowing public input, and so at this time, I will allow public input to, concerning the fire chief's annual performance review. Is there any public input? Seeing none, we'll close that portion. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you again.
Okay, our next item is fire chief's salary scale discussion. Chief, you've put together some information that we've all shared, and the chief did compared the fire chief's salary, and looking at, for example, the executive's pay range, the chief's overlaps some of those at the higher range. And I think our plan all along for numerous years has been to have each position, as it adds more responsibility, to get a higher pay rate. And so keeping with that, we need to look at that, establishing a fire chief scale that would continue to do that. Chief, any comments you'd like to share with this? You did most of the work.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I've done here, commissioners, is as with every other non-representative position, like we just did with our senior executives and our administrative staff, all of those positions have a salary range. And they're data-based, they're market-driven. And what I have done, similar to the other positions, I went out and I looked for what is the competitive market value for the position. What are you guys going to have to pay if I step out of here and get struck by lightning or hit by a bus and you have to replace me? So what I've done is I've developed a salary scale starting from entry to a maximum point. My recommendation to you, obviously, you can do whatever you want to do, but this is an 8-step salary scale. evaluated every 3 years. That'll ensure that it's always based on the most relevant data unless we see something really crazy go on with inflation. We should be good for a 3-year period and the board can elect to reevaluate it. This is a new concept for our district. But I think moving forward in the evaluation process, salary evaluations, it'll be easier because the board has the choice of how fast a person progresses through their steps. You know, hiring, for example, you all could make a decision that our hiring window is between the entry salary and step 3 or step 4, and then make a decision how that person moves through that salary. Are they half-step eligible, full-step eligible? So it just makes this process a little less stressful for you, and we're not doing repetitive salary studies, you know, every time the fire chief is coming up for an evaluation. And it blends with every other district position that's non-representative and exempt. So that's my recommendation to you. And my professional recommendation is that you move to adopt that range with the salary scale.
Okay, comments? Start with Ron.
You compared us to these various beach towns. I know the town, they always want to know what's Sanibel doing. Did you include them, or?
I've looked at, so I've looked at what data is available, but yes, they have been included. They have been included in agency manager salaries have been evaluated locally as well as statewide.
I've been told that many communities in Lee County, that you really can't determine what the fire chief makes, in that there's, I won't say it's hidden money, but it's really not part of the package. And I'm pleased that, you know, we are a transparent organization.
So it's the manner in which public information is reported. It's not hidden, it's available. But putting together salaries can sometimes be daunting based on the government agency you're working with. I do not want that for this agency. That's why our compensation philosophy is changing. I want to be as transparent with the community as possible, especially as it relates to my salary. So that's part of the reason that, you know, I've built this salary range. It is competitive, it is what is reflective. It's not as high in some cases because that is not what we can afford and it's not what's sustainable. This is sustainable in the near term, just like all the other wage adjustments we had. This salary range can be sustainable for the next at least 3 fiscal years.
Okay, John?
I appreciate the fact that we're kind of giving this a growth area, I guess would be the best word for it, and also creating a very determined line between progression through the ranks. So one of the things that's always frustrating in an organization, it happens probably far too often, is not seeking promotion because you'll take a pay loss. And that's the wrong reason to not grow professionally. But I understand, it's, you know, especially people with families and obligations, as we all have through life, it's important to see that you can grow both in a position and also in compensation. So I appreciate the work again done in getting this together for us.
Okay, Jackie?
You answered some of my questions already because I was gonna ask the Sanibel question, of course, because they're our nearest neighbor and we're similar in a lot of ways. My only thought was, and I know you're trying to do something that's sustainable over the next 3 years, but it still seems like it's a little bit low compared to the comparisons that you have. So I know you're looking to try to sustain it for the next 3 years. My only thought would be to either bump the upper range or add some extra steps to get us more up into that upper range for the looking 3 years out, because this is gonna adjust up again in the next 3 years. I mean, based on everything that's going on.
Is there
I just wanna make sure we
anything-
have enough room.
Is there anything that would prevent us from going higher? If,
I mean,
the
yeah,
board
you're saying
desires?
budget.
May I speak to that?
Yeah.
The chief's contract says that if he gets at least a meets on his evaluation, which would equal the proficient, that's why we set that out, it's proficient, then we can decide what kind of raise we give him. I think the steps are just kind of like codifying what we're doing with everybody else. But we could, since he's
Right.
done better than meets, we can give him, we can start him at step 4, we can make step 8, whatever we want to. Or we can give him any number in between, as long as that evaluation is a positive evaluation.
Right.
It's just, now, if you're hiring in somebody else, if the chief runs away and joins the circus, then we're going to have someone to come in, and we'll say, well, here we go. And we could hire a new person in at step 4, for
Right, I
example.
think my
So
concern was the dollar amounts in each of the steps is still lower than what his comparisons were.
It is pretty low, it's only like
Can we
1.7%.
make dollar amounts larger, but a bigger amount between steps, or can we add extra steps on the back end of it?
We could grow the steps, the salary range, and since the board is going to drive this salary range, we're gonna establish it. We can, if we see economic conditions are worsening in terms of inflation, you could always direct me at any time to reevaluate that salary range, especially if, I decided it's time for me to transition from the organization in 6 months. You could direct me and Human Resources to do another salary comparison. If, 2 quarters from now, you say, we're still seeing inflation, Fed's still moving the rates, probably should start evaluating this wage range. We can evaluate the wage range at any given time. At my recommendation, I will do whatever the board's will is, obviously.
You know-
This is the wage range I feel comfortable with staying at this time based on our current economic conditions.
Okay,
And
that was my
again, we can always evaluate that at the board's discretion.
You answered my question.
Jim?
Yes, I wanted to thank you for providing the board with some guidance and trying and doing these comparisons. I know this is a little awkward for you as you present this to us, but it's really a step for us to move in the direction of professionalism, to be able to talk about openly what your salary is going to be and have a system in place, not just pulling numbers out of the thin air, to have a system in place for us to determine where we think that salary level should be for you. So I thank you for that, and I hope that we approve this salary structure there that you've laid out. And then we can talk specifically about where you land on that structure.
Okay, and I've already said my piece, so any other comments? Okay, do we have, Jim, would you care to make the
Yeah,
motion?
I would make a motion that we would accept, I don't have the blue page up, but
Okay, you know what, I'll read it.
Why don't you read
And
it
then
for
you
me, and then
can,
I'll second
then you
it.
can, well, you can make the motion. The motion would be to approve an 8-step salary scale for the position of Fire Chief District Manager with a pay range of $175,000 to $200,000, with a salary survey to be completed and presented to the board no later than July of 2025.
I would make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay, thank you. Next item is the fire chief salary adjustment. And as I mentioned, since the chief has received at least a proficient or proficient, we'll call it that, he actually exceeded it to the nth degree. We now need to look at a fire chief salary adjustment. And you've all had a chance to consider that. And any suggestions, any thoughts? Let's start with Jim this time.
You've been here for 10 months and you've just done an outstanding job for us. So I think you're way past entry as this scale is laid out. So I'm leaning between bringing you in at step 3 or step 4. If I were going to make a specific recommendation, I guess I would recommend step 4.
Okay. Ron?
Considering everything that Chief Martin has done for our organization and the community at large, I would recommend step 5, which is still under the average of, of the comparisons.
Right.
I don't know that we need to wait a couple years for him to get towards the top. It's my feeling that step 5 is appropriate.
Okay. John?
It's always a tough discussion because we once again got a bargain on the initial contract, I feel, and it's certainly proven to be that after our initial evaluation here. I know it was requested on the paper not to exceed step 3, but I would certainly be comfortable with step 3 or 4, either one, and I lean more towards a step 4 comfortably.
Jackie?
I have to agree with John. That was kind of my initial reaction was, I know what was requested, but either one of those two would be fine with me.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve a performance-based salary adjustment for the fire chief, district manager to step 4 of the approved salary scale. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, discussion. All in favor?
Just one comment if I could.
Sure, please.
In looking at this big picture wise, I agree with Ron, and step 5 or 6 would definitely be an easy decision. The thing that I also take into mind when we look at this is Chief Martin's dedication and the number of hours he puts into this organization without overtime, without request, certainly have justified a step 4 openly. I mean, there's no doubt. I don't think there's a debate.
Okay. And I was remiss. I'd like to offer the opportunity for the public to make any comments. Seeing none, we'll close that portion. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'll call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Congratulations, Chief. Okay. Let's go back to. Okay, at this point, we are open to fire chief remarks.
Well, thank you, Commissioners, for everything today. As I stated, there's a lot going on in the organization. Last week, I had the opportunity to accompany our human resource manager to the Florida Public Human Resource Association conference. Been looking at different executive growth opportunities for myself in terms of conferences and learning opportunities, and this is one that isn't traditionally attended by fire chiefs, but it's human resources. It's what 90% of my time is working with people, and it's our most valuable asset. And I am so glad that I went to this opportunity and decided to pursue my certification with this group. Talked about a variety of topics: compensation studies, and the biggest focus was the generational diversity that we are experiencing in the workforce and in all facets of industry and business. And it's going to be challenging, and there's going to be exciting new growth opportunities. All of us sitting here are being phased out of the workforce, and we've got a highly educated, very sensitive group. And when I say sensitive, not in a negative term, but a very positive term, we have people that are coming into the workforce that are sensitive to a variety of sociologic and cultural differences where we've never seen that before in the workforce. And for those of us that are of an older generation, it's an exciting opportunity for us to grow and learn new skills and be exposed to new concepts. And it's definitely changing the face of public safety. One of the interesting analogies that I shared with some of you was one of the speakers talking about this, even talked about how it's impacting the military branches of basic recruit training, specifically the Marine Corps he talked about, and the changes in boot camp with the Marine Corps to accommodate these generational norms. So it was a very exciting opportunity. I'm very glad I had the opportunity to attend. Attended the 5 Bugle meeting recently of the Lee County Fire Chiefs, and just like I heard last week, and just like we're experiencing locally, there's not a lot of people to hire out there. So we're going to have to get creative and make the district attractive as much as we can, and really focus on retaining the talent. What may have been unacceptable in our industry when we all came and we were young recruits, is an accepted norm now. And when I say, you know, reliance on mobile technology and listening to having distracted attention when you're doing, you know, what would be a routine task is a norm for this new generational workforce. And it doesn't make it bad, it doesn't make them wrong. They're just growing up where they're in an environment where they can multitask very easily, but focus when they have an important task in front of them. So we're definitely going into an era where there's some exciting opportunities for growth and learning new skills for all of us. So with that, I conclude my fire chief's remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, we have no attorney report. Commissioner remarks. We'll start with John.
Again, great meeting. It's always, I explained to people before we discussed budget, last meeting with setting our trim rate, but spending other people's money is probably one of the hardest things we as a board do. And I know that's inconceivable for some folks, that others' money is easier to spend, but it's not. We all participate in the program, and we're responsible for it. But there's nothing that gives me more pleasure and excitement as to seeing an organization grow, to compensate our employees as best we can afford and reward them for good performance. So I truly feel that's the key to our future and in recruiting new people, and one of our biggest challenges. But I'm glad to see that we're this far ahead of that task and moving that direction.
Thank you. Jackie?
What John said, also I want to thank you for being actively involved with upcoming events on the island. Again, as part of my other hat, I sat in a Aurora meeting with Scott and some of the team this week. The fact that we're engaged and we're present and we're looking out for the community, it's a huge thing. We've got Singer-Songwriter Fest coming up in a month or so. That's going to bring a whole lot of folks to our beach. They're going to interact with us. They're going to see who we are. Some of them are going to come over the bridge, fall in love, stay forever, keep coming back. And that's all a big part because of the service that we provide. And I know that some of our team will probably interact with some of the folks who are coming to see those singer-songwriters, or even the singer-songwriters themselves. So thank you for staying engaged and connected, and thank you to the team out there for every day that they're out on the street taking care of all our community members and our businesses. I know one of our chamber members lost their business on Sanibel this week, and it was a tough fire, and those are the kind of things that, again, keep me up at night because, it's never easy. Actually, the gentleman that owns that is on my board for the chamber, so please keep them in your thoughts. Know that they kept everyone safe there and minimized that fire from doing any additional damage. And it's just good to know that, like Jen and your team are out there looking for potentials of things like that, and we're staying safe. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
I just wanted to say thank you for a great meeting, and I can't begin to tell you how proud I am of this organization, from the top to the bottom, really, all the way. It is so professional, and they approach their duties in such a professional way. And people sometimes think, well, we're a small town, but we are a small town that has contact with millions of people. So we have to do things, and we have to do things well. We have a lot of things that we have to do, and we have to do them all well. And I'm just so proud of the way that this organization tackles those responsibilities. And I hope and I know that under your leadership, we will continue to do that. And the people here that we have hired and the people here that we will hire and the people that have been with us for so long. It's really, they're the ones that are in the field touching base with the community every day. And I want to thank all of you for the great professional work that you all do. Thank you.
Ron?
As been stated before, I echo everything that everyone has previously said. I do want to congratulate District 15 on your contract, District 3 on theirs, the executive and support staff. I'm very pleased that we are in a position where we can offer these increases, which will help us retain people, will help us to recruit. I'm also happy in that we have a very team that works together, speaking about the commissioners, in that rarely, if ever, do we have old business.
That's a good point.
Whatever it is we're talking about, we usually settle. And if not, it's settled at the next meeting. That's very unusual. I can recall where the old business was more than the new business, and we were rivaling the town at times. We don't have that. For that, I'm very thankful. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Great. Okay, and did I get John this time?
You did.
Okay. Just making sure. I want to thank Colleen for her help putting together the chief's evaluation form and then helping with that arduous scoring system that you did a great job on that one. I want to thank Jane for helping put together the salary ranges and those kind of things, and also making sure that that they're sustainable. And I know the chief relies heavily on Jane to make sure that what we're doing is sustainable. So thank you, Jane, appreciate that. What struck me is Ron said his job is about people, and that's exactly it. He's exactly right, and that's why we're having success now, because his focus is on the people, including us. And he realizes that if you focus on things, and you neglect the people, things don't get done. But if you focus on the people, they will get the things done. And that's not very eloquent, but that's exactly it. It just feels really good that Ron is our leader. So thank you so much. Do we have any other comments? If not, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you.